That's better. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Really do appreciate you. Appreciate you loads. Hangout Cafe family, please, 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 can we show her some love? Can we let her know that we do appreciate her? And also, especially because of the topic. So please show her some love. Let's see the
I will
love.
be needing the Lord.
Sorry.
Pastor Funke, even though I've shared these experiences
Yeah,
a number of times,
yeah,
it evokes different emotions every time. Just
exactly.
before I got on now,
Yeah.
I started to feel the sweat coming up.
Oh, okay. So I'm sending you some hugs and
Thank
love
you.
from here.
Thank
And
you.
also, you
Thank
can see
you.
that, yeah, people are showing you love. I know it's,
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's encouraging. Thank you.
no, it's a sensitive one, but I
Yeah,
really honestly do appreciate you for agreeing to do
thank
this.
you. Thank you for the opportunity, Pastor Funke.
Thank you so much. Okay, so folks, we're going to be talking about navigating sexual harassment. But before we go into that, let me introduce our guest barrister for today. Her name is Siju Yusuf. I'm laughing because we actually talked about this yesterday. I hope I pronounced your surname properly. Yusuf.
Pastor Funke will speak after. Yes, you did. You did
Okay.
this time.
She's a doctorate researcher whose focus is on the use of social media for addressing gender inequality in sub-Saharan Africa. And following her experience in her younger years at university and 8 years stint working in banking, she became increasingly aware of sexual discrimination, both through her own experience of it and the experiences of those around her. And subsequently, she started journaling, and she's been invited to write articles about her experience and the things she's been through. And through sharing, she's helped others to open up their voices to share their own stories too. So, Hangout family, again, let's welcome Shiju to Hangout Cafe.
Thank
Thank,
you. Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank you. Okay, so as I said, today we're going to be talking about um, navigating sexual harassment. The question is, what is sexual harassment? What constitutes sexual harassment? Do you want to start with that, or do you want me to go and share? Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. I can take that.
Okay.
Hi, thank you everyone, and especially Pastor Funke for having me on. Yeah, so if I start to act funny, it's possibly because of the sensitivity of the topic, but hopefully not. We've prayed, we're relaxed, and everything is going to be fine.
Amen.
Sexual harassment, I would say, is sexual behaviors towards you that you feel are uncomfortable, that could make you feel powerless, even that are humiliating, that can make you feel scared. Yeah, so this is what I would say sexual harassment is. But I did a quick search, not
Yeah.
before I jumped on, but yeah, a while back.
Yeah.
And the Government Equalities Office, the UK Government Equalities Office, in a report that they did in 2021, they explicitly explained what sexual harassment is. And if that's okay, I would like to just read it out.
Yes.
It's just a few lines.
Yes.
Yeah. And it says that sexual harassment is an unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that has the purpose or effect of violating an individual's dignity or
Okay.
creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment for the victim. Yeah,
Okay. So read it again, just so that we're clear, please.
right. So it's an unwanted conduct of a sexual nature that
Okay.
has the purpose or effect of violating an individual's dignity or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment for the victim.
Right. Thank you very much.
So yeah, that said, this could be physical,
Yeah.
it could be verbal, it could be visual.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be
So it's
verbal.
not limited
It's not
to
limited to being.
it as well. Yeah, alone. Yeah. So it could be any of these things.
And the other thing we know is that sexual harassment happens at work, it happens at home, it happens in schools,
Yeah.
organizations. Even I remember I said to you, it also happens on your way to work.
On your way to work.
Yes.
On your way to the grocery store.
So it can happen anywhere. And the statistics in the UK says that 45% of women, now again, we need to say this, men do also experience sexual harassment. It's just that I believe more women experience sexual harassment than men. And it
Yeah.
says 45%, this survey was done last year actually, or the beginning of this year. It says 45% of women have experienced sexual harassment at work. And yeah, then 61% of women experience sexual harassment in public on their way to work. 1 in 5 do not report it. And 80% said that even when they report it, nothing changed. In fact, 16% actually said the situation actually gets worse when they do report it. So women are they're reluctant to report sexual.
Yeah.
Because
they are reluctant.
Yeah, because they feel nothing's going to be done about it.
And over time, they've probably read stories, seen it happen where people have reported and nothing has been done. So there's no confidence there to step out and, just share their own experiences with a view to getting something done about it. So they just sweep it under the carpet. And I also feel like the prevalence of it as well, it's almost become a norm.
Yeah.
So much so that when people pass lewd jokes at you, you don't even know that's harassment.
Yep.
When they make comments about your body parts that, they're not that sensitive comments about your body parts, which are sexual.
Yeah.
You don't even know. You don't even think there because it's just everywhere. So yeah, because of that as well, I feel like people don't even know what sexual harassment could be.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere.
It's again any unwanted sexual behavior that makes you feel upset, offended, or humiliated. But let's start by you sharing your story. When did you? I guess when it happened to you, you didn't know. Did you know there was a name for it called sexual harassment?
Okay, so is it okay to take it from the beginning, from when it happened, then I can say, okay, at this point, I did not even know what it was.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, in one of my experiences, it was as a child. I may have been about 6, 7, to be honest. I didn't know what this was, and we would have, my parents' cousins staying with us, and this happened to me. And I didn't even know what it was, but I knew it wasn't right.
Okay.
And I knew my mom would always say, oh, girls, because I come from a family of 4 girls and a boy. So my mom would always say, dress in trousers. Yeah, so I didn't know why she was always saying girls should always wear trousers, because she just doesn't want us to be sitting loosely, just always be on guard.
Yeah.
But I knew that my mom would always be careful. Okay. So when this person was doing what they did, I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't right.
Okay.
And I, at that time, just because I didn't know the gravity of what they were doing, I couldn't even report it. And honestly speaking, I did not give it a name until I was grown, until I was an adult.
Okay.
So I've just I've just recently considered it as okay.
How old were you again when this happened?
I could have been 6, I could have been 7, I could have been 8.
You didn't share because you felt
I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't know. Yeah, I just didn't know what it was, to be honest. And I think also as times have changed, there's a lot more sensitization, and I feel like these days a child of 6, 7, 8 years would be able to articulate what has happened to them.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, and also my background, I would not have even have been able to, because it just did not make sense, but I didn't know what it was.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And how long did this go on for?
So yeah. And I remember also that was a physical one. I remember one time as well that one of these uncles was asking me to say things that went right. So I remember those two occasions, but I don't know if that happened within a year, or it was a period of time.
Right.
I can't remember, to be honest.
Okay. You were young. You're quite young then, so.
I was quite young.
Okay. All right. Please go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that happened, and that was that. I remember then getting into the university. So this was me in my late teens at the university. I went to university in Nigeria, and if you know the terrain, it's quite prevalent. I was checking the statistics as well. Well, you know what the interesting thing is, in Nigeria, people could not even, there are several statistics all over the place just because they can't put a number to it. They can't put a figure to the prevalence over 100. So yeah, the figures are all over the place. But one thing I took away from there is that it is quite prevalent. But what I'm trying to say is that I went into the university having heard stories of how lecturers would pester students and for sex, for grades.
Yeah.
And it happened to me. I'm not going to say whether I saw it coming or not. It happened to me 2 occasions. I was sharing with Pastor Funke about one of the occasions where I thought, okay. And I'm hoping that people on here, when I truthfully say or recount my experience, I am a Christian, so I would be recounting from that. Yeah. So permit me to use God and just feel free to share. So one of the experiences was this lecturer had been, it would seem like they were asking me out, but after, and this is one of the things that sexual harassment is, if they're asking you out and you've told them consistently, I don't want to, it becomes harassment if they're not letting go, if they're not backing up.
Okay.
So it became harassment at the point that he was not letting off. And I was then being made conscious of the fact that I was my exams are coming and this, so what do you say if your exams are coming and all of that? So I remember he invited me to his office one of the times, and so this was one of them. And he sat me down, brought the conversation up again, and he did ask me a question there and then. I knew I needed to give an answer, and I knew that whatever answer I gave would determine what would go on from then on. So he asked me, he said, Siju, what exactly do you want from me? That took me aback a bit because obviously you are the one wanting something from me. So I don't want anything from you, but I couldn't say that because that doesn't make sense in that context. So I said, I want to be a student and I want you to be my lecturer. Okay. And he looked at me and then said, okay, yeah, go, get out of my office. And that was it. But before I responded, I took some time to pray. So I wasn't there saying, oh, Jesus, I was praying internally. As he was speaking, I was praying. And so when that came out of my mouth and the response was for me to leave, I knew that couldn't have been my wisdom. That couldn't have been my speaking. It was definitely God. It was his grace. It was his mercy. And so I escaped unhurt. And that was one of them. But there was another one. And the one I just spoke about would have happened when I was in the first year or second year. Okay. But when I was in the third year was one of the ones that stood out for me in these experiences. And I remember him saying to my class rep, so the class captains are referred to as representatives. So this guy came to meet me, said that one of the professors was asking to see me
Okay.
at their office. So I kind of knew, because why are they asking to see me? So I spoke to I sent a message to a friend. I
Yeah.
told her to please meet me up very close to, I said the location of the professor's office. I think this is what might be happening. So I told her to come along, and I said to her, I'll be going in. If I'm not out in 5 minutes, please come banging on the door.
Okay.
If you hear me scream, please come banging on the door. So we had a little plan going, and then I went with my class rep to see him.
Okay.
Then I went into the office, and he told me, by myself, I shut the door. By myself, I turned the lock. So it wasn't like he was the one doing all of this thing. He was my supervisor. He was my professor. So yeah, I went in. He told me to lock the door. I locked the door.
Oh,
And
so
then I
when you
sat.
walked in, he said, lock the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he told me to turn the key. So I turned the lock as well. So it was secure. But yeah, so I sat,
But sorry
and
to
then,
interrupt, Siju, just because
yes,
I'm sure some listeners will be saying, didn't you think, well, you didn't think there was something funny locking the door? Or it just didn't
yeah.
cross
So
your mind?
this is the terrain.
Yeah.
This is Nigeria.
You just do what the lecturers.
I was in my year 3.
Okay.
I had 2 of his courses to take in year 3. I think I would be having it in year 4 as well. And he could even be my project supervisor in my final year, year 5. So I needed to be tactful as well.
Yeah.
And he had, at this point, he had not said anything to me. So if he said, "Oh, lock the door," and I'm like, "Why should I lock the door?" Then you'd be like, "Are you okay?"
Okay.
You
Okay.
see. So
Yeah.
I needed to play smart as well. But I just had a feeling that this wasn't going right.
Okay.
Anyway, I locked the door by myself, which, yeah, retrospectively thinking about it now is kind of foolish. I could have pretended to lock the door or something. But anyway, I locked the door and sat down.
Yeah.
And he sat on the table. And yeah, he then said what he wanted to say. He wasn't even, beating around the bush. He just went straight for it. He wasn't asking for a relationship. He was asking for sex. And I was dumbfounded and was just looking at him. And he said to me, so then I started saying, "Oh, daddy, if you're familiar with Nigeria, this is how things work. Everyone is your dad. The older people are your uncles and aunties, and yeah. So and everyone is your mom as well. So I'm like, "Daddy, you can't be saying that to me."
Yeah.
And first of all, one of the things he said was that they told me you weren't going to be a problem.
Ah, okay. Who told him?
I never had the opportunity to ask him who did,
Okay.
but because I was invited over by the class rep,
Mm.
I assumed, and I still believe that he would have been the person.
Yeah.
Because also, there was this culture back then that class captains or class reps would be close to the lecturers
Right.
for this purpose. So they would pimp girls to them for grades. So he said, yeah, they told me you were not going to be a problem. And I'm like, who did? Anyway, sir, daddy. And he was like, who's your daddy? So he then grabbed my face. He was going for a kiss, I think he was. And then I quickly knelt down. Another, cultural gesture of that we do for the elderly. So I knelt down, just kept on saying, "Daddy, please, you can't do this. And I'm sorry if this is a bit explicit. Is it okay to go for this,
Yeah.
Pastor Funke?"
Yeah.
So he stood up.
We have the trigger warning there. Please, if you don't want to hear anything that's explicit, please just log off now. Thank you.
Yes, please do. Sorry about that. Yeah, so by this time I was kneeling down and saying, "Daddy, sorry." He stood up right in front of me, very close proximity. And because I was kneeling down, my face was around his groin area. So he started he forcefully pulled my head against his groin like twice, and then I jumped up like, okay, now this is getting serious. So I jumped up, he ran after me, pinned me on the wall, and I was struggling. The whole office was, getting messed up, and I was shouting for my friend, shouting loudly, so just making noise so she would know to come to the door. It felt like I'd been there for 5 minutes, but I don't think I'd been there for more than 2 minutes from what my friend told me.
Okay.
But I was asking, shouting for her to come rescue me. Apparently, you can't even hear from outside what's happening inside. So the walls were
later on that she couldn't hear you.
Later on that she couldn't hear me. She was right by the door. So she was literally just by the door and she couldn't hear what was happening inside. Okay. Anyway, that happened. And after tussling, throwing things around, we were almost in a fight. He then said, "Get out of my office," angrily, "Get out of my office." But before then, he told me, "Remember, you're taking my course this semester. You'll be taking my course next semester. You're taking it in your 400 level. You're taking it in your 500 level. Just use your senses or play whatever." And then he let me off.
Wow.
And it was when I got outside that I started to think about what could have happened. And I started to, it dawned on me what this was all about. First off, I was very very upset with the class rep, who I still think said whatever he said. But yeah, so that happened then. And
but again, you didn't, because I guess of the culture there, you didn't report it to anyone.
Well, I did not report to anybody in authority that could have done. No, I reported to someone in authority, and that was my mom. My mom could have, but this was a school setting, so that this wasn't like a family kind of orientation. But my mom wanted to go to school with me to make a scene. But I said to mommy, this is, you know how it is. If you create a scene, if you make noise about it, yeah. I was probably never going to graduate from that school. I was probably never going to graduate from that school. So I said to mom, don't worry about it. We'll just see what happens from here on. But I could definitely not have spoken to the school authority, because I still feel like this is like an organized crime. This is what every lecturer knows, the lecturer that does this. And interestingly, also, one of my, so in my final year, this was in my final, my project supervisor, a Christian, I thought, a deacon at church even, I think, he started asking me, no, he wasn't even asking, they were not even kind enough to say, oh, we want a relationship. They would just say exactly what they were asking for. Wow. And this man that I thought was, the pastor or whatever, I remember just presenting something to him, and he pulled my hand and he started, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, these are 3 different lecturers now. So they definitely, I mean, the school would know, or the
this is still
management team would know.
I understand that this kind of things are still going on now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've had people reach out to me in my DMs, just having listened to this story and just recounting their experience as well. But the good thing I think that has happened over the years is perhaps social media even. People are more quick to call out these things now.
Yeah.
Not then when you couldn't even speak about it. The friend that would know is the friend that you would tell, and it would almost be like a pact. You don't let this out because you don't want to have that stigma. You don't want the next person to know. And then they would be like, oh, why you? Why not? Why? What? It has to be that you are also a bad girl or whatever. So you don't even want people to know about these experiences. Not only because there was nothing that they would do then, but also because you don't want people to, you don't want that tag on you, like this is the girl that was assaulted, this is the girl that was harassed.
Do you know, I just remembered something I was going to bring up You remember you said at the beginning that you said your mom used to want you to wear trousers, and you were wondering then why, but now you know why. And it's the same thing that's still going on now, where certain people think that because a girl wears a short dress, that she's inviting sexual harassment.
Mm.
So you should wear a long dress, or long skirt or whatever. But it shouldn't matter what you wear.
It shouldn't.
And it's not, and the truth is that it's not as even if you wear trousers, that won't still, whoever the pervert is, will still try to harass you, whether it's trousers or whatever it is.
But the ones that happened when I was working, I was wearing skirts. So, and they were long skirts, maybe. So, but I remember also sharing this experience once, and this person said, "Oh, what were you wearing?"
Oh, wow. You see what I'm talking about? What does that
I'm like, okay. What has that got to do with anything? Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I just had to bring that, but go on.
Yeah.
So that was what happened at uni. You couldn't share it or tell anyone in authority, because knowing our society, nothing would have happened anyway, or you would have been penalized by the authority.
I would have been sent out of school. or made to carry over this course several years. Yeah, so I would have. So I went for a 5-year course.
Yeah,
I would have stayed back maybe an extra 2 or 3 years just because somebody would not pass me. So yeah, but thankfully though, he passed me surprisingly. Pass, like, let my people go, is the kind of grade when you're not when this is not an A or a B. Just
okay,
just
actually, let me go
together.
back. So after that incident, what happened? Did you see him again?
Oh yes, I saw him. He was a lecturer, he was a professor, so I would always see him and say hello, good morning sir, good morning, and he would say hello. But I remember him, just wondering and even saying this out, like, who's your godfather? Like, how almost like, how dare you do what you did to me? Who do you know in this school that's giving you the effrontery to be this way? Anyway, I remember also that in my final year, I was standing, we would call it walkway at the school, with one of my friends. And by this time, he was asking this friend out as well. So he was almost like standing beside her and saying, when can I see you, or something, something along those lines. And I overheard them. And I just said, Daddy, chuckle and just make him know that I heard what you're saying. And he just walked away like, you are just a bad girl. You go. It was, yeah. So I did see him afterwards, and yeah.
Okay, so that was university. I mean, I really don't. Anyway, go on. So you started working.
But I started working, and when this so he at the time was a general manager. So I worked in a bank, and this was a general manager in a bank, so it was a big deal. When he started asking me out, I honestly felt like, oh, there must be something about me that attracts these men. I was almost starting to blame myself for being the way I am, because I'm not the only person. Why do I attract this kind of people? And I think this is one of the other lies that make people not want to share their stories, just because they're feeling like people would.
Something I did, I must have done something wrong.
It must be something that,
yeah.
Anyway, I started working at this bank, and this man started asking me out, and of course it turned to harassment. It was physical, it was verbal, it was maybe not visual, but yeah, it was full-on harassment. And also it was very abusive. So because I kept saying no, we would have meetings every day from 7 a.m. with like 300 people sitting in that meeting, and he would be chairing the meeting, and every opportunity he had, he would call me out. And thankfully, I was able to be on top of my work. So he couldn't call me out for not working well,
Yeah.
but he would always find reasons to attack me.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that went on as well for maybe 2 years. And I couldn't report to anyone as well. But also what happened was that this person operated in a way that they would isolate you. I don't know if that makes let me explain. What I'm trying to say is, so you join this group newly.
Yeah.
They don't let you make friends.
Okay.
Your break time, they're maybe giving you more tasks, so you can't even go on breaks.
Okay.
And so you can't socialize. When other people are leaving work, they're making you stay back, giving you more tasks. And so that was his modus operandi. He would isolate whoever he wanted to harass.
Okay.
So you couldn't tell the next person this is what you were going. And then he would tell you stories about how, and then the way he was quite abusive. You would see him challenging people every morning, and the way he was talking about you don't want to be the person he would take into the meeting, to be honest. So if he's telling you keep to yourself, then you're keeping to yourself, because you just don't. I'm telling you, somebody said demonic strategy they use. Honestly, it was like a length or behavior, because over time I think it had worked for him, so he carried on doing that. It would isolate you, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that it could do whatever he wanted to do. I remember reading this somewhere about sin thriving in secrecy. And he may have known about this strategy, just knowing that if you don't tell, then you're more vulnerable. You're more likely to do this thing. So it's better they make you not tell than you have a group of people, or like a community where you can, or a safe place where you can speak at. Yeah, so that's what they did. They made sure I could not relate with people. I had extra work to do, so I didn't even have the time to make friends. And so there's what's it called now? The youth, Nigerian Youth Service Corps is what they call it. And this is an organized time after your year at the university, where you get to serve the land. So they post you. So the nation is what I mean by saying the land. They post you to different states in Nigeria, and then you get to serve in different parastatals, with the hope that you get retained in one of those places, or at the very least just gain experience for the world ahead of you. So that's how I started off with this bank. Okay. I was a youth corps member when I joined them. Okay. So clearly I was looking to get retained as well.
Okay. Oh,
so it was,
he knew that.
Yeah. So and at this time, banking was a very, very lucrative line of career in Nigeria. And this bank was the highest paying at the time as well. So there were several reasons why I would have wanted to get retained, and why I couldn't even also share my experience, because I mean, if I did that, that meant that it would get to the top and they could probably sack me. So that was, And I remember also that he was quite close with the managing director of the bank. So in all of this equation, I was a very, very small fry. I would have been done away with without anybody even noticing something had happened. So, yeah.
Oh, gosh. So how long did this thing go on for?
So this one started in 2008 and ended in 2010. So this was 2 years.
So how did you cope?
First of all, so when this person would ask me, give me 8 reasons, he had the habit of telling you to give him reasons why you couldn't do this. One of the reasons I would always give, in fact, 5 of the reasons was God, because I would then start to think about what other reasons. So I would say God, number 2, God, number 3, God, and then he would start laughing like, are you okay? But to be honest, the only way coped was God. I didn't have a community at work that I could trust.
Yeah.
So I could the workplace wasn't a safe place for me.
Okay.
But apart from the fact that God was overseeing all of these things, I also could share with my parents. So my dad knew, my mom knew. There was a time I got my mom to call him.
Okay.
Now, she wasn't going to call to say, leave my child alone or anything. She was going to say, oh, thank you so much for being so kind to my girl, just so that he feels like he's in the position he has is a position of a guardian rather than oppression. So my mom would call him and be like, oh, thank you. She said she's always coming back to say very good things about you, and just thank you. And so we did that, but of course that did not work. No. In fact, I remember one time I got to the office and said, never ever get your mom to call me again. That's not going to work. Anyway, so my dad knew as well. So I had that community that I drew strength from. At that time, I wasn't married. So my boyfriend, my fiance, I think, at the time also knew. So I could draw strength from him. My pastor also knew. So I could draw strength from all these people. And that's how I would go into work happy, but getting in there, I would obviously be sad the rest of the day until I'm back outside of work. It was a very, very challenging time, Pastor Funke. Before I went to work in the morning, I would go with so much anxiety. I couldn't even make friends. It was that bad. I couldn't go on breaks. It was that bad. So, yeah, the workplace was not a safe place. But yeah, God helped me through it all, I think. So apart from God, I had a community that I could fall back to. And that was when I started to write as well. Say that again.
No, I was going to say, so how did it end? Was it when you left or what happened?
I didn't leave. So there was, the bank had some issues and they had to restructure.
Okay.
So it was in this restructure that they then transferred him from my unit to another unit. And I remember, okay, so this is going to sound crazy, but I remember him having, he had planned that on a certain day, November 1st, I don't think I would ever forget, he would have this overhaul within the team. We were expecting it because when he does things like this, he's victimizing somebody. So, yeah, we were all very anxious and expecting this thing to happen. But on the day that he was supposed to do this was the day that he got transferred out of the department. So it was a large group. Okay. So he went. And I remember people were so excited. They were really happy. Pastor Funke, please guess what I did? So we would have these morning meetings, like I said earlier on. And I just asked to have the megaphone. And I said, oh, when people are rejoicing, you should be rejoicing with them. When people are sad, we shouldn't be rejoicing that, okay, no. So this wasn't, they had transferred him out of the thing, but they were also now going to lay him off. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they were going to lay him off as well. So I was then saying, this terrible thing is happening to this person. So we shouldn't be rejoicing over that. And people were like, nah, come off it. What are you on about? Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but I did.
Well, maybe it was the Christian in you that was trying to.
Honestly, there were several Christians there as well, and they were like, "Are you okay? What are you saying?" Anyway, yeah, so that happened. So I got away with that as well, just because he was transferred. But before then, the peak of this was when we. Am I talking too much, Pastor Funke? Please let me know.
No, go on.
Okay. So the peak of this experience was when we had to go to another state for like a training. So we were going to train some people in another state.
Someone said it was your mother's secret prayers that uprooted you.
Yeah, it could have been. Everybody was praying, to be honest. My dad was praying as well. So yeah, a lot of prayers were going up. So yeah, we went to another state. I think we went to Kaduna State. I was on a flight with him and two other boys or men from the group.
Yeah.
And he made me sit beside him. Maybe not on the flight there, but on our way coming, I remember Pastor Funke, it was a mad tussle on the plane. By the time we taxied and we stopped, my like 2 or 3 of my buttons were out.
Wow. He was trying to harass you on the plane. Well, there were other people on the plane.
There were other people on the plane. So I think we sat 3 on that row. There was a guy by the window. He was in the middle. I was on the aisle. And then the 4th person was in front. So he wears some kind of glasses that could help him see the rear. So he was seeing all that was happening. And it was a traumatic experience on that plane. And when we came out, and one of the guy that was sitting in front of me gave me a hug and said that was a good fight. And that was
Didn't you do something?
Why didn't I do something?
No, the guy that he saw what was going on.
Pastor Funke, this was the general manager. Before I was an entry-level staff, before I would become a general, this were like maybe 11 steps higher than I was. And the guy as well was in his maybe 3rd level at the bank, or 2nd. No, I think it was 2nd level. I can't remember. So he couldn't have done anything. But now, Pastor Fung, this was how many years ago? 14 years ago. Now,
I really hope things have changed. I really do hope.
Now, I'm hoping that people will be able to speak up.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So this is what happened, and it was really, really, really upset. Oh yeah, because when we were in Kaduna for that training, he sent me to get him shaving sticks, which was not my business anyway. But I told the guy that sat in front, I said, this is what he's asking me to do. He says, when you're taking this to his room, you know what to expect, right? So I'm like, okay, you stay awake. When I'm going there, I'll let you know. But I didn't even go the night. So I went to see my aunt. One of my aunts lives in Kaduna. So I went to see her. She dropped me really late. That meant I couldn't deliver what he sent me to get. But in the morning when I was going, I knocked on the guy's door. I'm like, I'm going to drop this off with him now. Again, like I did in my university, I'm like, if you don't hear anything from me in 2 minutes or 1 minute, just come. Okay. So I opened the door. I went into the room and I just dropped it for him. And he was like, go. So nothing happened, thankfully. And then on the flight was when everything happened. On the flight back was when everything happened. And I remember when we had a minute in the office, maybe 2-3 days after, he called me and he said the way I humiliated him, nobody had ever done that to him. In fact, right now, he hates me more than he hates one of his aunts that said something nasty about it just saying how much he hates me now.
Well, and that was it. On the plane.
Yeah.
Crazy. What kind of rubbish is that?
Yeah. Oh, somebody says, no, it's worsening. Oppression is norm. Oh, dear. That's sad.
Sad. It's sad.
That is sad.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's how I think I got away with that. And obviously, because he now hates me, yeah. He bullied me in a different kind of way. He wasn't sexually harassing me anymore, okay. But he was just bullying me, which, I mean, I could live with that. Yeah. Compared to what was happening before, I could live with bullying. So, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, so what were the consequences for you personally? I'm going to bring on, I've got Dr. Zion on. He's going to come to join us to talk about how victims, the consequences of sexual harassment on victims. So whilst I'm bringing her on, can you share what the consequence was for you as the person? How did it affect you mentally and all of that stuff?
First of all, I I second guess people's kindness. So when you're being too kind, I'm like, okay. Especially when it's the opposite sex, I'm second guessing. So I can't fully trust, or I couldn't because I'm in a much more better place. Yeah, I've healed from that experience. So I couldn't really trust people just because I would not say it affected my confidence. I think, in fact, I became a bit arrogant just because I thought, oh, I've dealt with things, I've had experiences, so yeah.
Right.
So rather than affect me in that way, it affected me obviously in another way that obviously is not good.
Right.
Also, just coming on to share again today, I started panicking. Even though this has happened how many donkey years ago.
Someone asked the question, why didn't you leave the job? Didn't you think of leaving? I think the question was, did you ever think of leaving the job?
I thought about leaving the job several times. But you see, again, and this can obviously sound like me making excuses. But if you know the terrain, if you know what the labor market in Nigeria is like or was like at that time, and getting a bank job, that won't come to you easily to leave your job. Because, I mean, where would you get the next one? Where would you get the next one? And like this man also said to me when he said, he also asked me, so who's your godfather in the bank? And I would always say, I don't have any godfather. The godfather is my godfather. Wow. Hi, doctor.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I
Good,
trust
good,
you are
good.
too.
I am fine, thanks. Hello,
Yes.
Pastor F.
Hello, Dr. Z. Please, can we welcome Dr. Zion Ekundare to Hangout Cafe? She's been here a few times, so she's a regular.
I know. In fact, I'm a regular.
I must confess, I've just put her on the spot. I just sent her a message behind saying, Dr. Z, will you come on? Because she's a psychotherapist. So she knows a lot of it. And it's because we're also concerned about, because I remember when I posted this thing on Hangout Cafe, someone did say, oh, I'm not sure I can deal with it now. And I know that people who are probably going through sexual harassment or have been through. So, Doctor, we really would love you. Siju was talking about the consequences for her. But because you've probably also spoken to lots of victims, what are some of the things that present when you've been through this sort of trauma?
I think a big one is shame.
Shame. Okay.
Shame and guilt. Did I was any of this my fault? Were there other ways I could have handled it? Right. Why me? Right. Oh, I'm so dirty. Oh, there must be something about me that makes this happen. Did I encourage him? Yeah. And it's those are the big things. And then, this sense of, I don't even trust myself. Do I trust myself? Do I trust my decisions? Do I trust my relationships with people? Those kind of, I think I can just sum it up as shame and self-doubt. I think those are the biggies.
Shame and self-doubt. Well, I'm still trying to figure out. I can understand, but when it's not your fault, I mean, so Shiju, for example, that it had nothing to do with you, but why did you still feel that? Did I do something? Was it? I mean, it's happened to you 3 times. What? I'm just trying to understand the thinking, Dr. Z.
The thinking is, it's happened. There must be something about me. Okay. There must be something I'm doing. There must be something. I mean, why me? Why, how come it didn't happen to Pastor Funke? How come it didn't happen to Stella? Why is it me? So there must be something. There must be something about me that is causing it to. And then maybe I didn't handle it well. Yep. Maybe I should have. The whole shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have. I could have. And you start ruminating and reliving it. Yeah. Over and over. Of course, it's making it worse the more you do that. It's those kind of thoughts.
So if such a person is online now, or probably listen to it later on, what would you say to that person?
I would say find someone and talk it through.
Okay.
And this is not about me trying to, drum up business. They always say that we talk about trauma all the time. And I think the thing to always remember when we talk about trauma is that trauma is not about, the strength of trauma is not what happened.
Okay.
It's the effect it had on the person.
So
the same thing,
what happened is the effect on the person.
It has on the person. And because we're all different, all three of us could go through the exact same thing and would affect all of us differently. One person will shrug it off and say, the man is just a stupid man. The other one will say, the man is a stupid man, but, and the third person will just say, oh my gosh, why am I such a horrible person? Why did this happen to me? Can you see it's exactly the same thing, but it's three totally different reactions. So it's the reaction, so we should always bear that in mind, that even when someone tells us that something like this has happened, we shouldn't always go with the natural inclination of, what's the big deal? Should be the man, just push him away now, just avoid the man, because the effect it has on them. I don't know all the things this person has experienced. I don't know their outlook to life. I don't know their perspectives. I don't even know their self-image, how strong their self-image is. And it could even just be personality.
Okay.
I may be a more quiet, reserved person. You may be a more outgoing, very confident person. So the response for us is completely different.
Okay.
So again, even when people seek help, a lot of people find that what they're talking about is dismissed by other people, or it's not taken that seriously, because it's like, after all, it's not as though he actually did anything. Maybe he just tried it, For some people, he just tried it is a very, 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 very big deal, Some people, maybe other people in authority have tampered with them. And so it's a big thing. It has a multiplied effect each time it happens. Whereas for some of us, we don't really bother about people in authority. We don't have any problems with telling people authority off.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so different for everyone.
And I guess the culture is also different. In Nigeria, it's different. We have respect for authority. If I use that respect visibly, where you can't say anything to them. Well, here I think it's changed now in the UK. Especially
it's changed a lot.
Since this Me Too movement started. People have, more people have come out. Even though, last year they still said only 1 in 5 report sexual harassment.
Yeah,
that's still a lot.
Yeah, still a lot.
Yeah,
because somehow people will attempt to blame you. Somehow, even the questions they're asking you to get the details. Yes, what were you wearing? So what did you say? Are you sure you weren't smiling at this man? Are you sure? There's always that kind of doubt that, you can out.
Sorry, say that again.
Am I still with you?
Yeah, say that again.
Sorry, you can hear and see the doubts that they're questioning. That, are you sure? Are you sure this thing just didn't go wrong on you? Are you sure? Maybe the man didn't give you money. That's why suddenly you're, he didn't give you what you wanted. That's why you're now crying wolf. That's just what people do. I don't know why. I have some theories about why this disregard for women is such a thing. It's just pervasive.
Okay, there's a question, Doc. When we say we have healed and we're still having panic attacks, but knowing the body keeps the score, what exactly is happening? Do you understand?
What is happening?
Yeah,
I do kind of understand. I think I would say that probably the person is not fully healed.
Okay.
They may have processed it, but again, even when you process something, the fact that you have kind of worked it out does not mean that it takes time. It takes time sometimes to let go of some of these responses, to be able to let them go. And sometimes when they say the body keeps the score, what it means is that the body still remembers what's happened. So anytime something triggers the person, and the trigger could be the same cologne you could smell a cologne that is similar to what the abuser or the perpetrator was wearing. It could be you find yourself in a situation, even a room, any visual, auditory, olfactory cue, any cue, anything that just triggers something that is totally subconscious could bring a person back to that point. So sometimes there isn't a direct correlation that you can pick up, but it's there. And it's over time that you teach yourself to say, right, to you ground yourself back to reality that, okay, I'm not there. Yes, it's happened, but it's over. You talk yourself out of it. The fact that you've probably processed it does not mean that it will stop. There will still, when you're...
Based on what you just said, Siju, you said before you came on, you started having, I don't want to say anxiety, but you were a bit anxious.
Yeah. I mean, just the sense of reliving the experiences now, it just evokes something. I mean, I'm over it by the grace of God. I've processed it. And I mean, I've even forgiven these people. And in the last the last experience I shared, I remember saying to this, I think I did say to them that I've forgiven you. So he knows that I've forgiven him. But it doesn't mean that what has happened to me is gone.
Been
like
deleted.
It's been erased. It happened. It did happen. And so when I'm going to talk about it, I'm talking about it from a place of thank you, Jesus. I'm over it now. However, oh wow, I wouldn't want that to happen again. You know what I mean? So it's not like the healing hasn't happened. It's just this did happen. This truly did happen to me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, there's another question. Do you think the culture in Nigeria creates an enabling environment because of the stigma?
Yeah, I mean, is that for me?
Anyone.
Okay. Definitely. Nigeria, I feel like, and this is what I'm increasingly also saying in my research as well, we're so drunk with the seniority thing, and it does more harm than we're acknowledging. So seniority in the sense that because this person seniors you in a way, is a superior in a way. First off, you're not allowed to talk back to adults. And I'm not advocating talking back. I'm just saying, let children speak. Give them the opportunity to speak. You would imagine that over time, this would be changing. But this isn't even changing. People are still shutting children down and asking them, let me talk. And then when the children say, oh, daddy, should I do? Because I said so. You see, these things are still happening. And these are the things that we're taught growing up. So you grow up not being able to speak up. And so when things that you need to speak up about happen to you, you've grown up not speaking up. So it's not innate to you to speak up. So you just move on. And then also a lot of chocolate, things happen and they're like, move on already. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Let people process, let people share, let people discuss what is happening to them so they can get the help that they need. So the culture is like, so even just talking about depression, anxiety and things, mental health situation, people are like, oh, you're just glorifying these things. I mean, people, I'm not saying that you stay in the rut. Thank God that you now know what you're dealing with and you can find help or get help. But also acknowledge, you don't invalidate what people are feeling is what I'm saying. But there's a lot of that culturally that we don't even believe. It's because you had too much to eat. That's why you're thinking this way. It's because if you have not eaten, you won't be thinking you're feeling depressed. Such comments would not help people to come out to speak. It won't help them to get help. You see what I mean? So the culture just encourages all manner of abuse. It does.
Dr. C, do you want to contribute to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to say just Africans. It's Afro-Caribbeans, Asians. We people of color, we have this culture of silence. You know, if something happens, keep quiet. Someone passes away, don't talk about it. Someone is abused. What will people think? So we shut things apart from. So that's another layer onto the respect, the whole respect spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't say this kind of thing. You know, and sometimes you find that. I mean, I remember I was talking with a young lady not too long ago, and the person wanted to actually wanted to talk about, you know, the person was writing a book.
Okay.
And was putting some things, a tell-all book,
Yeah.
and was writing some things, and I was reviewing the book,
yeah,
and helping, you know, review the content of the book, and you know, and then I asked her a very simple question. I said, "Have you told your parents?" She went quiet. You know, she was horrified, and you know, the at the end of the day, by the time she was like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to tell them. I said, yeah, because they're going to get some comeback from things you said in this book are so real.
Yeah.
They're going to get some comeback. I almost regret it because now the book has been kind of killed. Killed. Because she was like, they will kill me. They will kill me. I cannot do this to them. You know? And I was like, but why? You know, and it was just, it makes them look like they're bad parents. It makes them look like they didn't know. You know, some of these things, you know, it raised the whole question of, I couldn't talk about it. And even when I tried to, I got shut down.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to put it out there in the world, and somehow she's bypassed this whole thing that my parents are still alive and kicking, you know, this is not going to happen. Yeah. So it's almost like maybe when they're gone, I can do this, or, you know, that because they won't understand.
Yeah, actually, excuse me, actually, I know someone who did the same thing. And even though she did publish hers, but her parents are not very happy with her. Because again, like you said, you make us look like bad parents. Yeah. Which is really sad. I
remember my ex-husband, and in fact, him and quite a number of his friends called me once, you know, a mutual friend of theirs, the daughter had written had, I think, gone on social media and created some vlogs about some of these kind of experiences.
Yeah.
And, you know, they kept saying, thank God her parents have passed. Thank God her parents. And they were like, you need to talk to her. She's not well. I said, no, she's trying to process it. Yeah. They just couldn't get it. It was like, how does somebody put this kind of thing out there? The girl is not okay. She's not okay. I'm like, she's healing. This is healing. Yeah. But they couldn't get it.
Wow. Okay, somebody did ask a question. Remember I said at the beginning, I don't know if you heard this, Dr. Z, that even sexual harassment happens in churches. So someone's question, will you say that the church is addressing it? First of all, in our churches, there should be zero tolerance for sexual harassment. But I know that sometimes it does happen in some churches. There's a lady that Siju actually introduced me to, who apparently experienced it. But I don't know if I'm going to bring her on, maybe later on. And I think she did report it. Did she? I can't remember now.
I don't think she did. I think she's just actually now starting to talk about it. But I think she's listening now. So if she wants to say.
Okay. So, but there should be zero tolerance. And I think most churches now have, is it part of their safeguarding policy, Dr. Z?
Yeah. Yeah, it is part of the safeguarding policy.
So
now, whether people use it is another thing.
Whether people use it is another thing.
Yeah.
True. So if it does happen, if someone should harass you at church, you should report it to the leaders, senior pastors. Now, of course, if it is the senior pastor or the pastors or leaders, then you have to find someone else, some other authority that you report it to. But don't keep quiet. Seriously, you shouldn't be quiet about it.
And this is not even at church alone, anywhere. Knowing what I know now, I know not to keep quiet. Because you think, nobody will take action. But guess what? There's someone that's really interested in it. There's someone that would be vested in it. There's someone that would even point you in the right direction. They may not be able to take it on as theirs because this is not, happening to them. But they could point you in the right direction. They could encourage you even. They could support you. I spoke about how the support system that I had was what I fell back on, from school, from work, from these places. there's somebody who is interested in it. You're not alone. That's what I feel like, you know. And again, the devil wants to box us in a corner, just making us believe that, oh, you've done something wrong. Oh, you're such a bad girl. Oh, yeah, it has to be because of this thing about you.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling like, oh, there's just something about me. It's first, I'm sorry you're experiencing that, but it's nothing about you. It's never about the victims. It's always about the abuse. Always about them.
Yeah.
And also, you're not alone. Somebody wants to listen to you.
Yeah.
And there's help everywhere, to be honest. We wouldn't find them because we're not looking. But when we want to look, we would find help.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would find help.
So can you report sexual harassment at work, even if it's been a while?
I would say yes. There could. I mean, and this is, workplaces want evidences, you see?
Yeah.
So they could be making a case, but they just need the very last person that would bring that tangible evidence, for example.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that, then they may do it to another person who also may not want to report it. But you see, if you report it, then it's documented. You've done your bit. The next person does their bit. Another person does their bit. They can make a case. But when we just let it slide, there's no case anywhere. Nobody is reporting anything. So yeah, nothing is going to happen.
So
at the risk of sounding controversial, remember Prince Andrew? It was a series of reports over time. It was, you know, it doesn't get more historic than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they got there in the end.
True. That's so true. So at work, is it your first port of call? Should that be HR?
Yeah, I would go to HR.
HR.
I would. But if this was happening, no, I mean, if it's work, I would go to HR. I wouldn't even speak to that, if I had a team leader that was doing that, I wouldn't go to the manager. I would just escalate.
Straight to HR.
Yeah. Straight to HR.
Okay. Because HR know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Your manager can still be doing mediation and may still be trying to shut it down.
Right.
But HR know they have to take a record.
Yeah.
They know they have to keep a record.
Yeah.
Remember what you were talking about? So someone said a way around sharing your story without feeling that it brings shame to your parents is to have someone else share your story on your behalf. True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone else can share the story, or your line manager. Well, yes, you can. If you can report to your line manager, that's if it's not your line manager that's harassing you. Oh my goodness. Okay.
But I think also in the policy book for most organizations, they say to escalate sexual misconduct to HR. So, because like Dr. Z was saying, the line managers could mediate in a way that you feel like, maybe that wasn't actually harassment. But if you report it to the right channel, they're going to dig up the book, listen to you, weigh the sides, and make a decision from there.
Yeah.
So, except the policy says to go to your line manager. But if it doesn't, please just,
Yeah. And, I think also, just thinking now that maybe people, you said, I think it was Siju, you said something at the beginning that sometimes we don't even know what sexual harassment is. But, even someone saying to you, maybe as a lady, oh, your boobs are this, or your boobs are... I was reading somewhere the other day, and please excuse me. So someone said, her boss said she should put out her hands, as she did. And he said to her, oh, these are big enough to take my, you know what? I mean, that's sexual harassment.
Yeah.
So, or anything that makes you feel uncomfortable.
That's
most of us will know. If I'm not comfortable with something. Or someone you
it's
walk
sexual,
past.
it's unwanted.
Yeah.
And it's making you uncomfortable. That's it.
Yeah. Or someone will walk past somebody and they hit your bum. That's sexual harassment. Why should they even do that? Even putting their hands around your waist without consent, that is sexual harassment. Especially when you feel, I'm not talking about a friend that you know, but someone you don't know, just putting their hands around your waist and you feel uncomfortable about it. Yeah, that's it.
So, the Government Equalities Office report, the UK government one. So they give examples of what would constitute that sexual harassment. And one of the things they said is somebody putting their hand on your lower back,
Okay.
just placing their hand there. They're not even caressing or trying to turn the corner with the hand. They're just placing it there.
Yeah.
If you feel uncomfortable about it, let them argue it out with the authority, not you. If you feel uncomfortable, then and it's sexual, then
I don't know whether it was on Hangout Cafe or somewhere that I read or heard something about this lady. She was at a meeting and this guy was on the other side. I think there were a few of them in the boardroom. And this guy kept licking his lip, you know, the way rolling his tongue, right? And well, I think she said the way she responded was she just said out loud in the meeting, said, "Are you thirsty? Because I can see that you're
keep licking your lips."
licking your lips.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, women can harass women too.
Women too.
I agree. Women can harass women. And men too are harassed by women.
Women, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, men too are harassed by women. And I think even this Johnny Depp and what's her name? Amber
Heard.
Let's forget that. But seriously, if you're going through or being through, please speak up, get help, and but whatever you do, don't keep quiet, because we don't want you to suffer in silence. Don't keep quiet. See a therapist. There's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. I mean, we've said it on Hangout Cafe 1,001 times. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going to see the therapist. Dr. Z, yeah, go on.
I think I just wanted to pop in there too that not everybody will think of going to see a therapist, but friends, a friend could tell you. We all have that responsibility to one another. That sometimes when people tell us things, we should help them. We should encourage them to escalate. We should, we shouldn't just listen. We should always try and take it that step further. That okay, I can't help you, but you have to get help.
Yeah.
The number of people who are helped because it was a friend, it was a parent, it was who said, no, you can't just leave this like this, And as I said, and the other thing that for me is very big is that don't dismiss it because it doesn't mean anything to you. If you have size 32C boobs, your boobs are not a big deal. But for somebody who is blessed with 38H, the fact that men stare at it could be really, really traumatic for them. That they keep having men just following them. So for me with the 32, I'm like, someone staring at your boobs. I wish I had those kind of boobs. No, that person is actually tormented by that, by what they're being subjected to, people staring at them. So it's just to think about it from their perspective, or listen to what they're saying, not the way I feel, the way you feel. The other person. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Z. Thank you.
Can I just also add, I'm sorry, and this is just as we've been talking. So in terms of verbal, it's not just lewd comments or outright, nasty jokes. It could also even be sounds. If they're making provocative sounds of sexual nature, it is harassment. So please,
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Z, thank you for coming on at short notice. I really do appreciate you. Really do. Thank you so much. And guys, if you need to see a therapist who is also a Christian, that's the lady to go to, Dr. Zion. Send me a DM or send her a DM. It's not free, please. It's not free. It's not free. So, yes, because that's what she does. That's her profession. So,
thank you.
But she's a good therapist. So, be her if you need help. And Siju, last word.
Last word is, if you've experienced this, I'm sorry. And like I said earlier, it's not your fault. So please don't think it's your fault. And most importantly, report, get help. There's help out there. And then it's not over. Like in my case, I thought that, if I reported, then I would be out of job. Listen, God loves you so much that Jesus died for you. That means this is giving you everything. And the Bible says that you have everything that pertains to life and to godliness.
Yeah.
So if that job goes, a better one will come. So
Mm.
don't just be there suffering abuse and being harassed and thinking, oh, this is it for me.
And you see,
No, that's not it for you.
Siju
It's
is
the
speaking
face.
from experience, because what she's basically saying is, if I had known then, this is what I would have done. So
This is what I would have
yeah,
done. Yeah. So it's a phase, it will come and it will go.
yeah,
But what would you do in that space? What would you do on that journey? Seek help, report it, and yeah, I'll be rooting for you.
yes. And remember, you are not alone. Send me a DM,
Never
send Joe a
alone.
DM, send Dr. Zion a DM. We're here to help you. But don't suffer in silence. Until next time, we love you. Thank you so much, Shija and Dr. Zion. And guys,
Thank you.
thank you for being so engaging. Hangout family, we love you. Have a blessed weekend and take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye.
bye, bye, folks.